Hi guys, in this tutorial we're going to be working on our downtown maternity glam. Now I always shoot with my images just a little bit underexposed. I would prefer to have my images slightly underexposed, then blow out my highlights. So that is why I shoot in RAW and I underexpose. So once I have this open in Adobe Camera Raw, I just want to go ahead and bring up my exposure. That's a little too much. Let's bring that up by about a half a stop, and then we're going to go into my shadows and we're just going to increase those shadows. I almost always do this in all of my images. Now another thing that I like to do in Adobe Camera Raw, but it's not really, you don't really have to do this, is I go over to my lens correction and I choose enable profile correction. Now what this does, it removes my vignetting from around my image, and if I have a lens that creates any distortion, it corrects that as well. So that's without it, and this is with that. So as you can see with this image, it almost pulls the model forward a little bit, so you have to be very careful when you're doing that. And if it does do that, all you need to do is come down to your correction amount and you can adjust that slightly within those settings. So it will show your lens profile, the lens model that you're using, everything. It works really great. Now I just want to go back to our basic adjustments, and that will open that panel back up, and as you can see, it's a little bit on the cool side. Now this dress is gold, but it's not super gold, so this is pretty accurate, but I want to warm it up just a little bit, so I'm just going to go up to my temperature and bring that warmth up. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to choose open image, and it's going to open in Adobe CC. So that opens our image. I'm just going to go ahead and increase that size, and we'll duplicate this so we always have that background layer to go back to and look at. And I'm going to go in and zoom in on my model. Now, she is a little bit soft, so I'm just going to duplicate this and we're going to sharpen this image. We're going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. Now the key with this is you want to make sure you don't get the haloing effect that you often will see when you over sharpen an image. So I want to go ahead and pull this back down. I want to make sure that my edges are just starting to have a little bit of a definition, and in the eyes as well. We could probably get away with going up to 3 pixels. Choose OK. Then we're going to go and choose Overlay. Okay, let's go ahead and look at that high pass sharpen layer before and after. So this is with that high pass layer and this is without. As you can see, it really defines the eyes, and it will define the dress and the sequence as well. However, I really don't want to apply that to every single thing on the image, so a really easy method to do is just create a masking layer. I'm going to do a Control-I to invert this. So right here in my layer palette, you'll see that it changes to black when I hit Control-I. Now that is hiding everything that's on that masking layer. To bring that back, I need to use a white paintbrush. I'm going to use a white paintbrush set at a soft round at 100%, and I'm just going to paint over areas that I want to bring back that sharpness. So anywhere, the hair, I love doing the hair. I try to avoid the skin area because if you watch right here, it tends to make it a little noisy. So we just want to hit X on our keyboard or switch back to that black, and we'll go over that skin again. Switching back to that white, we just want to make sure that we go over any area that we need to sharpen. Using my left bracket key, I am decreasing the size of that brush. The right bracket key will increase that size. Okay, let's go down. We're going to hit this hair here and sharpen that hair up. And let's even go along the edge of the sequence and define that sequence dress just a little bit. So I'm going very quickly there. Obviously, I'm not going to go over and do the entire thing, but just go over any area that you want to make sure has a little bit of a sharper edge. Okay, once you're finished with your masking and creating that high pass sharpen, you want to hold your Shift key, select that background layer, right click, and merge those layers together. Now, some of you may be freaking out right now. Don't worry about it. If you choose not to merge your layers, that is absolutely fine. There are so many ways to do things in Photoshop, but for me, I'm never going to go back to that high pass layer for my sharpen, so I can go ahead and merge those together. And now I can look at my before and after just the same way. And let's go ahead and zoom in, and we're going to touch up the skin a little bit, and then we'll go on and make this a really downtown glammy look. Now, if I have a model that doesn't need a lot of skin retouching, all I do is work directly on that layer. But if I'm worried I'm going to mess up my previous work, I'll just duplicate that and work from that new layer. Let's go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to right click on my toolbar and choose my spot healing brush. And we're going to go up. It should have proximity match selected. This works perfectly, or content aware fill works really well also. So just keep that in mind. We're going to drop down. I prefer my hardness, however, set at about 15 to 20%. Photoshop manually or automatically sets this at about 65%, I think. So this is just an adjustment that I use, and I do. I am using a Wacom pen tablet, so the pen pressure is set. If you are using a mouse, this will work just the same way. It will be set to off, and you're going to go over top of any area that you need to adjust and just simply click on that. So if I'm using a mouse, like I'm going to use my mouse right now, I'm just going to click over top that area, and as you can see, it removes and automatically fills that area in. Now, because this image was soft with the skin and I didn't use that high pass on the entire skin area, that is why I changed this to that softer area. Okay, now as you notice, I just messed up right here. All I'm going to do is go to Patch Tool. I'm going to select that area with my mouse or my pen tablet and just click and drag. And it's going to automatically fill that in with the area that you drag to. Now, if you're going to do skin retouching, I recommend that you do any skin that's showing in your image. So let me go ahead and zoom out. So if you're going to do a face retouching, make sure you do the arms and the hands as well. I'm not going to do the entire thing right now because I don't want you to have to sit here and watch, but that is what I recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that before and after. That was just a few minutes of just quickly going over that with that spot healing brush tool. If you're happy with that, hold your shift key, select that bottom layer, right click and merge that together. Again, I don't need that layer. Once I've done that editing, I don't need to go back to it. Now I want to go ahead and create a new layer. So let's go to Layer, New, and choose Layer. We're going to go to Mode and choose Overlay and Fill with Neutral Gray. Now this will not show up on this image because it is set to that overlay mode. And this is our Dodge and Burn layer. Now you can work directly on the layer using your Dodge and Burn tools, but if you use a gray, neutral gray layer, it will allow you to do a non-destructive edit over top of your image. And I like to do this for retouching my eyes and doing dodge and burns to define the skin area, just because I like to be able to turn that on and off and see that before and after. Now I use my dodge and burn on the exact same layer. If you prefer to do your highlights on one layer and your shadows on another, go ahead and duplicate that layer and rename those. But I'm just going to use the same layer. Let's go ahead and zoom into that eye area. I'm going to use my dodge and burn tool to define the eyes. So let's go ahead and start with our dodge. I'm going to decrease that size with my left bracket key. This is going to be our highlights. I want to naturally enhance the highlight that's already there. I don't want to overdo this. A really common mistake that you're going to see a lot of people make, I'm going to bring this up to 100% just so you can see what I'm talking about, is they will create a very large brush to cover the entire eye area, and they will click and they will lighten those eyes to a very unnatural alien look. That is awful. Do not, whatever you do, do this. Don't do it. So I'm just going to go to my history and go back up and remove that. And we're going to do a more natural look. So with that same dodge tool, I'm going to bring my exposure down to about 10%. Let's go with 13%. My midtone's selected. I don't have to worry about my protect tones because we're working on a gray layer, so don't worry about that. And I'm going to just decrease that brush size with that left bracket key, and I'm going to highlight the area that's natural in the eye. Now, this is why a lot of times when people start lightening eyes or changing eye colors, it doesn't look natural, is because they either overdo it or they don't understand how light travels through the eye. So looking at this image, the light is coming in from this left-hand side. You can see it's hitting her eye here. What's going to happen is this light is going to travel through the eye and create a lighter patch over here on the right-hand side. And you can see that's happening, that this area right here is a lot lighter than this area here. or even back here. So with that dodge tool, we're just going to click and create a nice natural light over here on the right hand side. Now if it's not strong enough, you can go ahead and increase that size. So let's go ahead and bring that to about 20%. I want to make sure you can see this, and I'm just going to click here and there and bring in just a little bit of highlight. I don't want to overdo this. You can do the whites a little bit as well, but don't push this too much. So let's go ahead and decrease that size. I like to go ahead and decrease that and create little tiny lines just to kind of highlight the lines that are already there. So once you have that done, we can toggle on and off, and you'll be able to see that's lightened just a little bit and it's still natural. From here, we're going to switch over to our burn tool. I can increase that size. It's set at midtones at 18% as well. And I want to naturally darken any area that needs to just be darkened a bit. So I want to go up and along that eyelash line. We can decrease this size and go down the bottom. We can even go over each little eyelash. I'm not going to do this for every teeny eyelash in the image, but just go over the areas that you just want to define a little bit more. Now this same thing goes with anything that's in the image. If you want to define them, just go around it just a little bit. I also want to bring little lines through the image as well. It just helps really define that to me. Okay, let's zoom out and take a look at that. And this is our after, that's our before, and that's our after. See how natural that is? It really brightens the eyes, but it's not alien-like. Now the same thing goes with around the lips if I want to increase that brush size, and I'm just going to go in and define the lips just a little bit as well with that darken, with that shadow tool. If you mess up, just step back. Let's increase that size, bring that exposure down, and let's just go over that. So you can also switch back and forth from your dodge and your burn tool. We'll naturally hit those highlights there. I like to do in the hair as well. So just go through your whole image and work on your dodge and burn. Okay, let's bring that exposure up just so you can see that really well. And we're just going to bring some natural highlights into that hair. Make sure you go with the movement of the hair. Okay, let's look at that before and after. Now, the reason why I did this on a separate layer as well, so you could see exactly where I was painting on my image. So let's turn those background layers off, and you will see exactly where I used those dodge and burn layer. Now those lips, they look pretty terrible. If I was doing this for a client, I would go a lot slower, and this would look a whole lot better. But this just gives you the basic overview of how you're going to use this layer to create that dodge and burn. Now if you want to, you can hold your shift key, select that bottom layer, right click and merge those layers together, and then you can see that before and after. And that's with that dodge and burn layer. Again, go a lot slower when you're doing this on your own. Go through and do all the dodge and burn on the entire image, and make sure you skin retouch on everything as well. Now let's go ahead and finish this image up. I'm going to use my overlays to create those light effects and the sunburst into the image to enhance what's already there. And I have my prismatic overlay set as well as my light effects volume 1. And a lot of times I like to use my light effects 20 or even my light effects 30 to bring a nice natural sun flare in. But for my light leaks or my light flares that give a little bit of color in the image, I like to use my 45 through 50. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the 50. It's going to be a lot of color at once, but it'll really help you see how this works. I'm just going to click and drag this into the scene. You can increase the size. Now, if you're not familiar with light leaks, I recommend that you just play around and see what you personally like. This is all to your taste. So I like to bring my overlays up really large, and then I'll adjust them down if I need to. Go ahead and choose OK, and then change the layer mode to screen. Because this is a black background, you can make that entirely disappear using that screen mode. And as you can see, the color remains, but the background disappears. So I love just moving these around and seeing where they look good on the image. Now, because this is a smart object, I can do any adjustments really on this layer, and we can change these up. We can change the colors or the brightness as well. So I'm just going to go up to Image Adjustments and Hue and Saturation, and I'm just going to change the hue slider so you can see how that changes the colors. So if you want something that has more orange in it or more purple or green, it's really easy to change that. I really like the color that's already there and how it enhances the gold in her dress. I think I want it up here though in the corner, and I actually really like this light leak right here coming into the scene. So let's rotate that just a little bit more. Choose OK. And we can change the brightness or the levels to this as well. So image adjustments, and we can go to levels, and I can make those even brighter. Now that's too bright, but as you can see, that's how that works. And if I want to make it darker, all I need to do is bring those down, that shadows down, those blacks down. So that's how you do that. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that out. And let's go ahead and bring one more in just so you can see how that works. Let's bring this one in over here. Increase that size. Change that to screen mode. It's very easy to do. Now, I don't like this one as much. If I use this one, I may just use like the edge of it. So keep in mind that's how you can do that. You can even warp these. So I can really adjust those exactly how I want. Okay, let's cancel off of that. We'll just go ahead and delete that. And let's look at our prismatic overlays. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to select a prismatic overlay that we like. Let's see, this one looks really cute. I'm going to bring that in, change that to screen mode. And you see we get a lot of light effects there, and you can bring those into the background. Now, if you have too much going on, or if it's just not looking exactly how you imagined it, you can mask this off. Create with a black brush. We're going to just switch that to a black brush, soft round paintbrush. Let's go ahead and increase that size. We're going to paint directly on the edge, and as you can see, you can sort of blend those two edges together. Once you have that, you can move this around as well. It's going to move that masking layer with it. So I really love this section right here. It's really nice. Okay. Now I think I want to keep just this bottom section but get rid of the top. So I'm going to stretch that out. Go back to that masking layer. And we're just going to mask off of those purple light leaks. So really this is all to taste. You really don't have to have any one thing perfect. Just do what you like to do and what you want to see on your images. Let's go in and we'll enhance these lights. So I'm just going to grab one of my light green or pink blue glowing effects, and we're just going to bring that in. Decrease that size down to be over top of those lights. Change that to the screen mode. Gonna have to move it around so the light burst comes out. I really like that there. So really just try different things, and let's go ahead and grab our green one and bring our green one in. And you can change the colors of these really easy. Okay, let's go and change this to screen mode as well. I'm going to bring this one down and rotate it so those sun flares are really coming off of that. Just so you can see those. Go to Image Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and let's change this to have a really nice warm pink orange. That looks really good there. So those are a little bright. There's a lot going on in the image. I really wanted to show you a lot, but this is how you do that and how you can adjust these. Now, if this is too strong for you, you can always lower that opacity down as well. I'm going to hold my shift key starting at that bottom light effects, go up to the top while still holding that shift key, drop down and choose new group from layer. You can rename this, choose OK, and then you can toggle on and off to see your light effects or any other effects or overlays that you add onto your image. Let's go ahead and add that layer in there so we can see that before and after. And we'll toggle on and off and see the before and after. So you can really see how the light comes into the image, and you can see how the lights in the eyes really pop as well. I really love overall what we did to this image. Okay, so if you have any questions or if you need help with anything, feel free to just send me a message, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.